Boston College lands a commitment from a class of 2027 recruit, one that you will know the name and one that you should be excited about.
You are Locked On Boston College, your daily podcast on the Boston College Eagles, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. This is Locked On Boston College, your team every day. I'm your host, AJ Black of Eagle Insider, part of the 247 Network. Thank you all who are joining me. If you're looking for a free daily Boston College podcast, you are in the right place. Locked On Boston College is hosted by me, AJ Black, who has covered Boston College for over a decade, and it's available on YouTube free and wherever you get your podcasts. On today's show, we're going to talk about the newest commitment for Boston College. Who is it and why we're excited? We're going to look a little bit into Bill O'Brien's meet and greet before the basketball game on Saturday. And additionally, I'm not going to get into the basketball game because it was a brutal game to watch again, but we're going to talk about one coach that BC should be looking at if they make a hire this offseason. So let's kick this off by talking about the new commitment. On Saturday, kind of a surprise, or actually it was Sunday, a surprise for BC as BC announced a commitment, one that I thought was going to be coming, but it came kind of out of the blue when it came, which was the addition of Suffield Academy in Connecticut offensive lineman Hawken Anderson, who already has one of the best names on the roster. Hawken Anderson is a 6'4" interior offensive lineman, about 290 pounds, has offers from Liberty, Marshall, some MAC schools, and some other smaller schools. Now, who is Hawken Anderson? You're probably asking like, oh, why would you be excited about this? Well, the last name, if you've been following along on BC News this offseason, should ring a bell. BC hired an offensive line coach, Kurt Anderson, this offseason. And Kurt Anderson is the father of Hawken Anderson. So you have a father-son connection. This is the second one on the staff right now because you also have Rob Chudzinski and Kalen Chudzinski. And hey, that one seemed to work out okay. And I don't expect this to be the last one. If you listen to our show last week, I was talking about Jet Watson, who's Kenyatta Watson's son, who's taking an official visit. I would expect him to commit, be a good chance to commit when it comes to June as well. So there could be some good family lineage going on here for this team. Now, Hawken is going to be most likely an interior offensive lineman. He's smaller, he's not the size of a tackle, though he played tackle. He's played everything in high school, but a lot of high school offensive linemen switch up and down the line, but you usually don't go for a 6'4" tackle. That's usually on the smaller side. That's usually where you would put a guard or put him at guard or center. So that's a good get. This, I am always pro recruiting around this area for the guys that are good fits. And, obviously a family connection is obviously going to be a good fit. But Jonathan DiBiase was also involved in this recruitment. Obviously his dad was, which is actually funny. If you actually read my interview with Hawken and the on Eagle Insider, he refers to him as Coach Anderson. I'm like, I always want to say to him, like, you just call him Dad. But, I think this is a solid get. He was not, his offer list isn't something that jumps off the page, but I still think there would have been bigger schools that would have went after him. I think, schools like Syracuse and Rutgers and Pitt, once they saw his tape, probably would have offered. But the fact that you had an in with his dad being the coach pretty much shut all that down. Now, this is the 6th addition to the class of 2027. BC right now has a 21st ranked recruiting class, but I'm not going to get excited about that because as we've seen year in and year out, BC always jumps out to this early surge. And then when other schools start taking recruits, it all falls apart. Like the numbers all kind of stack down. So, they're 21st now. They got 6 recruits. If you're looking at the names that they've landed, Jackson Tucker is Max Tucker's brother. He's a safety. They also have Xavier Whittington from Delaware. Wesley Wynn is my favorite. And honestly, I should also say with Wesley Wynn, he's the one that strikes me. I work for 247, right? His rating does not match everything that's going on. He had a really good All-American Bowl practice. He's got offers from everywhere, and he's rated an 85. That one always surprises me because you got Jackson Tucker, who's rated an 88, and his only offer is BC, and he play, not a knock on him, but I'm curious why Wynn is lower than him. You also have Braylon Otis, who committed last week, Za'hir Mitchell, and as I said, Hawken Anderson. Now, the one that we'll have to consider and watch for is Makai Volchi. Now, Makai Volchi was that linebacker from Bedford High School from last year, never signed. From what I've heard, he's not going to college this year. So to me, it sounds like that means a prep year, which is great because I don't know much about Bedford High School football, and if you're a Bedford High School football person, all the power to you. But maybe he's going to play at a school that will prep him better for BC. So that one we'll kind of keep on the back burner for now. We don't know the official details on that yet. We'll probably hear more of that as the season goes on, or as the off season goes on. But I think when we're looking at this class, you're going to be looking at how many spots they have. And that'll be interesting. And I haven't heard an exact number yet, but I have to wonder if this will be a smaller class because they just brought in a whole bunch of transfers that many of them are not going to graduate after this year. You bring in, look at like quarterback, for instance. From everything I've heard, BC likes to have 4 quarterbacks in the room. Look at the 4 quarterbacks they have. Grayson Wilson has 3+ years remaining. Femi Babalola and Anthony Colner both have 4 years remaining. And Mason McKenzie has 2. So do they get a 5th quarterback? They've been making offers. I have an interview coming up with a kid from Georgia who talks about being recruited as a quarterback. So maybe they'll go for 5. But with this 105 number, it's going to be tighter. It's a tight number that you have to be careful with. And if they're not losing a ton of players, and they're going to have guys that are going to graduate next year and guys that are going to leave. But how big will this class actually be? It'll be something interesting to watch. And when I actually get a number, I will let you guys know. So that's number 6 for BC. And you're going to see more news coming up starting in March when they start practice. I think it's March 10th is the start of spring practice. And that's when all these recruits are going to come and watch. I've already, on Eagle Insider posted a whole bunch. Kenyatta Watson has like a whole crew coming from Georgia coming up. If you've been watching and seeing the visitors, the offers that he's been giving, a lot of them are starting to line up visits to come to BC. So those will be guys you'll be seeing, players from Pennsylvania and Ohio and New Jersey and things like that. But that's the update. Hawken Anderson is in. This is one name that when you're looking at recruiting, and I know some of you guys are very skeptical, and I get it, that you're always worried about flipping. A coach's son is one I do not worry about. I'm pretty sure once he's locked in, he's not going anywhere as long as Kurt Anderson's not going anywhere. So Hawken Anderson is in, and he sounds, really pumped. He's really excited about the food, he told me too. He loves the food at BC, but he also loves the coaching staff and the history of BC in terms of offensive line recruits. He heard it, and his dad's ability also to get guys to the pros really kind of combined together for Hawken, this ideal of getting to the pros. Like, Peter Skoronsky and Rashawn Slater both were, big time recruits that played for the older Anderson at Northwestern. They're now in the pros. BC has obviously had a huge history with offensive linemen. Well, Hawken's seeing all that, and he thinks it's the best fit for him. Now, in a moment, Bill O'Brien held a special pre-basketball game meet and greet with season ticket holders. I didn't get there, but I've been talking to a few people who have, and I've got some interesting thoughts on some of the things they were saying in just a moment. Workplace chaos, deadlines stacking up, inbox overflowing, and the one position you have to still hire is open. When the pressure's on and you need to hire right, this is a job for Sponsored Jobs. This is Indeed Sponsored Jobs, which helps you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for with skills, experience, and location, so you're not just hoping the right candidate stumbles across your post. And here's a stat that says it all. In the minute I've been talking to you, companies like yours have made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with Indeed Jobs. Spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing with Indeed Job. All listeners to this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help you get the job in premium status at indeed.com/podcast. Just go to indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about us on this show. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? This is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Locked On Boston College, AJ Black here of Eagle Insider. Thank you all who have made Locked On Boston College your first listen. And if you're a diehard, if you're listening live here, as I decided to go live because it was a commitment, I love doing live shows every now and then, you need to become part of our Everydayer Club. Our Everydayer Club, I got to tell you about this. We have a Discord channel. And if you're like, AJ, I don't know what Discord is. Discord is like a group chat. Like, you know what you talked about with all your friends? Like, do you have like a Patriots all access group chat with all your buddies? Well, we have one here for BC fans, and I want to get it really active. So all you have to do to sign up is become part of our basic tier to get that group Discord, and I want to help bump it up. So if you haven't signed up yet, it's a great deal. You also get ad-free shows. You get all sorts of little other goodies. The details are in the show notes. Locked On Boston College, AJ Black here of Eagle Insider. Thank you all again for joining us. And we're talking about some football here. And on Saturday, Bill O'Brien did a neat little feature for season ticket holders where he did a meet and greet before the basketball game. Now, I didn't get to go. I'm not a season ticket holder, and I don't think it was open to the media. But I want to shout out some of our list. I think it was Walsh Fire Alarm on my message board who did go and kind of gave some notes on what happened. So these are, again, I can't clarify exactly what words were said, but this is what came from him. He talked about that Bill O'Brien basically said that he's the offensive coordinator next year. Now that lines up exactly with what I've been saying here for the last 2 weeks. Like, the reason why you haven't heard about any new offensive coordinator is because Bill's going to be it. You're going to see Bill O'Brien taking over this offense. This has always been his offense. And that, he's going to make it much more reliant on the athleticism of Mason McKenzie, which is very interesting to hear about, right? Because for 2 years now, with quarterbacks that should be able to run it and some that couldn't, they went so much more on a pro-style offense that sometimes I felt hurt the offense. To hear that he's adjusted to this is a good sign, I would think, right? But it's also interesting that we're doing it now when we had Tommy Castellanos 2 years ago. You probably could have done the same type of offense they're going to run this year with him. But hey, the fact that they're changing still is a positive sign. So if Bill's running the offense, it looks like, according to him and what I heard in the message that was sent on my board, is that there's going to be other staff hired. And for me, I'm guessing you're going to probably, I've said this before, not reporting this is my guess here, that Rob Chudzinski will probably be your tight ends coach, which again goes back to this program has a lot of father-son connections, right? He'll be coaching his son, Kalen, during the games. I think that's going to happen. All right. And I think you're going to see more responsibilities, it sounds like, on Jonathan DiBiase too, who, depending on who is, what his role is, he's more of an up-and-coming coach, and I think they want to give him some more chances to really grow. So that will be a piece there. But also that there's going to be other coaching jobs that they're going to hire for. Now, they're going to hire a defensive backs coach because Corey Robinson's gone. We haven't heard a name yet. That could happen anytime, right? I always feel like we find out about it on noon on a weekday. That's usually when Matt Zenitz or Chris Hummer of 247 usually break that kind of stuff, right? We'll have that. But it made it sound like there might be other positional coaches, which would be terrific, because I've been hammering, and Mitch has been hammering, to either split up the safeties coach from the special teams coach, not to knock on Matt Turn, who had a really good year on special teams last year, but would love to see him just focus on one thing, because that's what a lot of the big schools do, right? They have staff for everything. They have, outside linebackers coaches, defensive tackles coaches, ex-receiver. I mean, like, you name it now, because there's no cap on that. They add more and more coaches, and that helps. That honestly gives you a lot more flexibility on what you can do at practices and game film and all that kind of good stuff. So if BC's able to hire another coach or two, say add a defensive tackle, I'm just throwing, ballpark and stuff here, defensive tackle coach, or, whatever coach, as I said, safeties, like split that up and make Turn just the special teams coach. That's a great thing. Like, that is a good thing. So that was another piece that he brought up as well. He also confirmed that there's not going to be a spring game. And it sounded like the words I heard, and again, I can't confirm this, and if this is what he said, nothing wrong with what he's saying, is that they don't really want to do it because BC doesn't do it right. He's like, because he's been at Alabama when what do they call it, the red and white game down there. No, that's Georgia, whatever they call it, Crimson Tide game or whatever it is. But I mean, you go down to SEC country, and I have beaten this drum over and over and over again. Every other school, the spring game is another chance to tailgate, get back on campus, and reconnect with all your alumni friends. It's a big deal, and BC does none of that. They do nothing. They do, having kids. It was great, but I mean, for fans, who else cares? Like face painting in a bounce house, and they have barely any concessions open. They have zero tailgating. Like, it's the bare minimum. And that sounds like why they're not doing it, because BC doesn't put a whole lot of effort into it. And yes, some of that's on BC and some of that's on the town of Newton, who I'm sure is giving them heck for it. But unless BC really wants to make this big, and there's other, I don't know. I don't know what the permits are. I don't want to get into it because I'll get yelled at, because like I probably missed on like some piece of it, but like why they can't do like tents and have like the school offer like a bar and grill and then like stuff like that. But again, it goes back to what Bill was saying. Like BC just doesn't. It's not worth it. So they're just going to do a scrimmage, and they have a couple scrimmages placed for that practice. And I think he talked a little. He talked about the transfers and all the guys coming in and all that good stuff. So it was interesting, and I like that he got himself out there. Any chance to make your head coach available to the public and really being accountable for speaking to them, because he speaks to the media all the time, but you guys, the ones out there listening, I know many of you have questions you wish you could ask, and ways that you could ask it. It gives you a chance, if you're a season ticket holder, to go and ask him. And it sounded like it went really well. It's goodwill in the bank after a 2-10 season, and there's nothing to complain about there. Speaking of, I don't think I mentioned it on Friday's show. Actually, did I? I don't even remember. But they're going to have the increase in club seating. I love that. I should also bring that up as well, because it's going to bring more money into the program. That's all that matters at this point, right? You need more money. So in our final segment, I want to talk a little basketball. I'll give you a brief overview of what happened on Saturday, but I want to talk about a name I would like to see on their short list if they're going to make a coaching change. I'll tell you who that is in just a moment. This is Mazda's moving the game forward for those who show there's more to the score than what's on the screen. This weekend, we saw BC hockey have to come back to win a game against Merrimack to save their season. And who came in the clutch? Oscar Hemming, the freshman late enrollee, who scored his first collegiate goal to help BC win and basically save their season. They're right on the edge of making the tournament right now. They needed that win badly, and Oscar Hemming came up huge. These remind us of what it really takes to raise the bar. It's the extra work off the ice, dialing it in every detail, giving it that extra fire, that grit, and I never quit. We put that same passion into every model. Highlights make the real. What it took to get there makes it count. There's more to a Mazda because there's more to you. Locked on Boston College, AJ Black here, recording from a ski house in New Hampshire as I took my kids away for the week with my family, and I wanted to record up here. So that's why I don't have my fun set today. But I thought this was better than a green screen with the fuzzy things on the side. And I love, unfortunately, it's a big gray background to it, but you got me here, so can't complain, right? So Saturday, BC hosted and ended their 3 games home swing by hosting Cal, who had to go across country, just like Stanford, who had to go across country. And while BC could not figure out how to beat Stanford when they went across country last year in football, BC seemed to not have any problem losing to both of them, as BC lost to Cal for their 6th straight ACC loss. They are right on the edge of not making the ACC tournament again. They are probably not going to win 10 games this year. And they were playing without Donald Hand, which makes things even worse. I looked at the roster and the starting group, and I was like, oh, man, this offense is going to be rough. They didn't have Hand, and they were starting Chase Forte, who's been up and down in terms of offense. But I just saw that, and I was like, oh. But honestly, this game had nothing to do with the offense. BC scored pretty well. They scored 70-plus points in this game. It was their defense, the thing that has been Earl Grant's bread and butter all year. fell apart. Cal was shooting, I think they shot 48% from 3-point range. I'm not looking it up because I'm just not, but I believe that was the number I heard. And they just shot the lights out of BC and ends up winning this. So that's my recap of this game because I don't really want to talk more about BC basketball because it's depressing. That being said, we are now closer to the end of the season. We are also closer to BC having to make a decision on whether they want to retain Earl Grant. Now, my thing, I want to say this before we get into this name I want to bring up. Yes, everyone brings up the resources, and BC definitely needs to up the resources to support this program, right? I would say that BC's big problem was resources if BC was getting their doors blown off every game that they play. But they're not. They are in it every single game, but they find a way to not close out almost every game. It feels like they fall apart at the end. That to me is not resources. That's coaching. Okay. Every game, we had Mike Sidley on last week. He pointed out multiple times in every game where there was one play that they made, there was a bonehead play that cost them the game. Coaching is that. That is coaching. So if you increase the resources and get a coach that can close games and can put together an offensive style that isn't from the Stone Age and doesn't make my eyes bleed when I'm watching it, I think this team could be a much improved team. And there's one coach out there that I think would really get some juice into this offense and make BC a much more fun product to watch. It's the complete difference. It's the complete opposite side of gritty, not pretty. This is pretty basketball. And this is the head coach of William and Mary, Brian Earl. Brian Earl has coached at Cornell. He's coached at William and Mary, and he's won at both. Now, if you just look at his win-loss record, and I know many BC fans are not going to be able to get past that because they're just going to look at Jim Christian, they're going to look at Earl Grant, and they're going to say, this is the exact same style of offense, style coach. You're going to hate this hire if that was the hire they're going to make. But if you actually look deeper into his past, what he does, what other coaches think of him, you will see that BC would be getting a head coach that is on the ascent, that has won, and puts together an offensive style that could make BC a really attractive watch. Right now, yes, William and Mary are not a great team right now, but they're averaging 84 points per game. And that's his style. He does a really fun, run, aggressive style of offense. And all you have to do is look into what other coaches think of him and what the media thinks of him. This is not just this is a cool pick, because that's exactly what Earl Grant and Jim Christian were. Both fans and media were like, okay, all right, that's a hire. Brian Earl is going to be a coach that is going to get a big time offer sooner rather than later. He is on the ascent. He is a coach that when you're looking at him and you're looking at what he can do, there's gonna be people out there that are gonna want him. He's only 49 years old. Okay. He's coached since 2016. He has a below 500 record. Okay. That's the part that's really tough, right? But you look at what he has been able to do with programs that are just not good. I mean, it's William and Mary. William and Mary is not a good program. Cornell is not a good program. And he made the NIT before William and Mary hired him away. Okay. So I look at him. Yes, it would be a bit of a chance. But if you could get that offense rolling here, if you could get, BC's averaging like 62 points per game, and he's averaging 85 at William and Mary. That could be a really good change of pace here. And the fact that people want to play for him, people really, think of him really highly. He's been able, he turned around Cornell. Listen to Cornell's records when he started off, and then basically how he got that program going. They were 8-21 his first year, 12-16, 15-16, 7-20, and then he won 1-1, and then he made the NIT in his first round and then left. He has made at William and Mary 2 straight years into winning teams. So it's there. Again, the X's and O's for him are what's going to stand out. And the X's and O's for Earl Grant is what's been killing him. So for me, still Joe Gallo's my guy. I like Joe Gallo. But if you're going to compare offenses of what you want for your offense, Brian Earl has got an offensive scheme that's way ahead of Joe Gallo. Joe Gallo gets his players to play their pants off, and believe me, he's a winner through and through. But if you want an offensive coach, Brian Earl is going to be your guy, and he's one I've been kind of looking more into because he's a name I keep hearing about. So, Earl Grant's still the head coach. We do not know if he's going to be fired. We don't know what BC is going to do. He's signed for another couple years. Will BC eat the buyout? Will someone eat the buyout? We'll have to wait and see there. What's interesting though is I believe I just saw the wording on it. Jerome Tang at Kansas State just got fired, who was like a huge up and coming coach. Maybe he's someone you want to look at, and got fired for just cause, but it was because he was losing too much. That was, I believe, the wording I just saw. So if he's so bad, that's a justification to fire somebody, and it's with cause. What could BC do here? I mean, like, what are we looking at, right? So, I mean, there's probably wording in his contract, but I just thought that was funny. All right. So thank you all for listening. My name's AJ Black. I appreciate all of you who have checked us out. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button before. Please, if you're listening right now, hit the like button. It does help the algorithm, helps people find our show. I appreciate all of you spending your time with me. Follow me on Twitter at AJBlack247. Become part of our Everydayers Club, and I'll see you again soon for another episode of Locked On Boston College. Your team every day.